we have basically discovered in the past 200 years, 150 years, that genetics determines a lot of things, and that our lot in life is sort of fatalistic, that you can't be whatever you want, you can't have whatever you want. Some people are born with a tremendous disadvantage, and some people are born with a huge advantage. And there's sort of two ways to go about this. There's this liberal idea, which is that we're going to force equality and we're going to ignore that, and we're just going to keep saying louder and louder that everybody's equal and try to make it so. And then there's a different way to go about it. There's a different way to respond to this crisis, which is that the Bible talks about inequality. That's the first story about human beings, is that Cain kills Abel because Abel gives a better sacrifice and God favors him more. Aside from Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, which is really a story about man and God, the first story about man and man, it's about jealousy. It's about envy. It's about inequality, right? And the whole Bible is filled with stories like this about envy and about inequality, and that being the natural state of man. And the Bible says those that have will have more, and those that have less, even what they have will be taken from them. It's a story about inequality because the Bible is about us, and we are unequal. So the Christian says that this is a part of our nature, and it's equally as mysterious as other facets of why the world is the way it is. It's unfair in a sense. Maybe it's unjust. But we know that the only place where we'll get any justice or we'll get what we deserve is in heaven. And when we get what we deserve because of our actions, not because of our qualities, but because of our actions. And the Bible says that actually people that have more have it harder. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for the rich man to pass through the gates of heaven. Now, why is that? Is that because rich people go to hell, or is that because of the kinds of riches that people have, whether it be material wealth or maybe people that are rich in other ways? It lends itself to pride. It lends itself to hubris. So, in my opinion, people say that genetics is a refutation of Christianity. I think, on the contrary, Christianity is the answer to this crisis of conscience that genetic science causes. I think that's the only resolution to an age-old problem which has just been affirmed by science, which is unfixable inequality. That's my position on that. Because you look at blacks and say, well, they're genetically predisposed to these behaviors, and that's a pretty awful fact. Because if you're a eugenicist, if you're a utilitarian, you would say, well, what are we going to do with all these people who commit these crimes? If you're a utilitarian, it doesn't go well for black people when you affirm the science of genetics, right? But a Christian doesn't look at it that way. If you're a utilitarian, if you're a liberal, it doesn't really bode well for you if you're born ugly, or you're born short, or you're born stupid. Because you're not going to get the girl, and you're not going to get a lot of money, and if you have a certain genetic mix, you may be a total criminal, or all kinds of other horrible things will happen to you. But there's one book that says that doesn't matter. There's one book that says what matters is, do you love God? And you can be perfected and get what you deserve in heaven based on what's written on your heart, not your genetic composition. So there's really only one resolution to that age-old problem of tribalism, biological determinism. There's only one satisfying resolution that answers this reality of inequality and what we have in our hearts, which is an appetite for fairness and brotherhood, and to alleviate unfairness and suffering and poverty. There's only one resolution of that problem, and it's in Christianity. Otherwise, ignoring it means you'll get horrible outcomes, and without a moral code, affirming it would lead you to horrible atrocities like eugenics or genocide. That's why Christianity has to be, and well, Christianity is true. And because Christianity is true, as a consequence, it has the answer for this too. It achieves a resolution in this too. So,